This podcast is part of the Game and Entertainment Network. Visit tgenetwork.net to find the latest episodes from all our shows.
It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Agronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Bill Gast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 142. Tonight I'm joined by Grace.
Hello.
Kodra.
Hi.
Tam.
Hello.
And Thalen.
Hi there.
See, I'm the one that's supposed to be coughing, not you, Tam.
I'm only here tonight because Kodra is a hero and brought me orange juice and zinc tablets and soup.
Yay, Kodra.
I didn't have a voice earlier today.
Yay.
I think my voice is mostly okay. I have developed a Pax Pox, and I've been fighting that. And then Tam got sick from something that we don't know what. So yeah, apologies ahead of time, like if we cough or if we sound gravelly or anything like that. This is the first show that we recorded in 2 weeks, so yeah, that's a little weird too. But tonight we are recording the January Game of the Month show for Danganronpa, that I butchered the name.
Yes, you did.
Thalen, tell us why you picked this.
Alright. Basically, Danganronpa is a game that I've seen over and over, and it has this weird half black, half white bear mascot that's very striking, and is a visual novel, and has a trial system, which sounded interesting. So I've been watching it for a while and put it on my wish list to keep an eye on it. And for Christmas, my brother-in-law bought it for me. So I figured, what the hell? We'll make this the game of the month. It's a visual novel. We liked the last visual novel we played. So we'll see how that turned out.
I'm curious how far everyone got in this game.
Honestly, not far.
I finished the last trial, so I guess I beat the game for whatever values of that there are.
I beat the game, filled in all the report cards, and have played some of the post-game thing, which is interesting.
You filled in all of the report cards? Okay.
You can do that during the post-game thing, and it's really quick.
Okay, yeah, I beat the game.
Yeah, I only filled in one report card during the actual... No, I didn't fill in any completely during the actual game.
I filled in...
Okay, so I played through the prologue, and I played about halfway through the first chapter, and I had to stop, because this game makes me violently ill.
Well, that's unpleasant.
And I am normally not one to get motion sickness, and I don't know if it's just because I'm sick and I'm trying to play this, but whenever it does the head hopping thing, when you're talking to multiple people in a row and it rapidly shifts between characters.
Oh, yeah.
After a few of those, I was just sick to my stomach, and the world was kind of spinning, and it took me a while to figure out what it was, and then I started playing again and went through another head hopping phase, and nope, yeah, this is exactly what it was. So I just decided to stop at that point, which is unfortunate, but yeah, so whatever, the camera view when you're moving down the halls kind of messed with my vertigo a little bit, just because of the way that it turns the room, sort of. I don't know how to describe it.
It's like a parallax.
Yeah. It's it was bad parallax, and that bothered me, but it was dealable until the head hopping and reading while moving back and forth rapidly between characters. And I don't know how often that happens, but it happened often enough to know I think I'm done.
I think it's really fascinating too, considering that the last game that made people sick made me really sick, and I didn't have any issues at all with this one. So
yeah. I don't know. It's just weird. But yeah. So I tagged out about halfway through the first chapter, which was unfortunate.
I got through the first investigation.
So what? Is the chapter the investigation, or is chapter different than investigation?
The chapter is basically some in between time, and then a murder happens. and then investigation and a trial.
Okay.
Each chapter ends with a trial.
At which point you are trying to use the clues that you have gathered during your investigation and dispute your classmates as they are making assertions during this trial. And I'm curious, because I've never actually played, is this what Phoenix Wright is like?
I have no idea.
I've never played a Phoenix Wright
I've not
game.
played any of them either.
Me either.
Nope. But I bet.
Yeah, I bet Ash has.
Yeah, it's too bad that he's exhausted,
Yeah.
because he might be able to speak to that.
It was interesting, right? Like, that,
Yeah.
trying to figure out the solutions to the puzzles as they come up. It's sort of too bad that I felt like I was piloting an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, my complaint there is, like, in theory, in concept, I like the idea of having the trial and the mini games that you have during the course of the trial, but in practice, yeah, I felt like I was piloting an idiot, and also, like, some of the mini games just really were more annoying than interesting.
Yeah.
I think the only one that I actually really liked was the closing argument, where you sort of have to build the little comic book, and even that was somewhat frustrating because occasionally it would be like, well, there's a picture of a person by a locker, and is this the one that means they're going into the locker or coming out of the locker? Like, there were a couple times where I had things screw up because I couldn't figure out what the tiny picture was trying to say.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I liked the closing argument part. I thought that was neat.
So I liked the make your argument portion, the using the truth bullets before they introduced the absorb bullet. And every time I got stuck or I was like, what stupid thing am I supposed to do? I was supposed to absorb a keyword and use that as a bullet, and I was like, all right, so there are so many different stupid ways I could interpret this, and I know exactly what I'm supposed to say, and there's actually a truth bullet in here that's pretty close. Like, so...
But it's not quite what you need. Yeah.
It's not quite what you need. The example is, in the last case, it's one of the things is, how do you know that the person who attacked you at night wasn't this one character? And I'm like, oh, well, that character has a tattoo on her hand, and I can clearly see that the person who attacked me didn't have a tattoo on her hand. And one of the truth bullets you have to shoot is, like, description of this person.
Right.
And I'm like, great. Yup, that's what I'm going to use. Nope. There was an absorb bullet you were supposed to figure out, and I was like, this makes me angry. Because I know the answer.
I actually didn't like the make your argument part. I don't know. Like, I guess I would have probably liked this game a little more if it was more just a visual novel and, like, not the mini game things. Like, I don't know. The truth bullet thing was a neat idea, but in practice, it was frustrating.
It's kind of like it's adding, we need to have some gameplay here, so let's come up with some mini games.
Yeah.
I didn't really care for I liked the closing argument, but I definitely did not like the thing that comes after that. I forget what that's called.
Bullet time battle in the first one.
Yeah, it's not always there at the end. Sometimes it's earlier in the whole thing, but the tempo game.
Yep.
Yeah, because it did not explain how that's supposed to work, and I failed it the first time because I was like, what do you want me to do here?
Yep.
Yeah, I came very close to failing the first one before I realized that you needed, like, just keep the beat, whether there are things to shoot or not.
Yeah, it's
just
a rhythm game. Yeah, like, it was just a rhythm game without any actual, like, meaningful anything going on there. It's just like, if you tap to the rhythm, you...
Yeah, it gets a little more complicated further in when you have to reload too, but yeah.
I would also point out that it requires you to target and then shoot. And so I was like, okay, I can tap A to the rhythm, and didn't realize I had to shoot. Like, I died twice, just not knowing how this game worked. And it was the dumbest thing in storyline, because at this point, I have laid out a airtight case for why Leon was the murderer. And everyone agreed with me except Leon, who is standing over there telling me that I'm stupid constantly. And because I failed this event, suddenly everyone decides that, oh, well, Leon kept saying he's stupid. He must actually be the killer.
Yeah. Yep.
That said,
I really liked the actual investigation segments, though.
Yeah.
I thought
that was neat.
I thought those were really cool. Like, I could have done entirely without most of the mini games, but like I think I would have liked it a whole lot more if it was this kind of interesting conversation where you needed to talk to more people and put together more clues and then build the comic book yourself kind of as you're going. Like that I would have liked that, I think.
Yeah, like if it had been the investigation and maybe some like manipulation interaction of the investigation items, and then the one thing where, you know, it's like what, you know, you need to prove this thing, and you have to, you know, select the item out of your list of all the stuff you've got, or the three options sometimes, where it's, you know, less Twitch stuff.
Yeah.
I definitely had I really felt like I was piling an idiot because I figured out, I think, almost every single case. Like, all of the surprise spoilers heading into it, and I was like, oh, well, yeah, this is... I can personally say this is exactly what happened, and then my character here is, like, acting like an idiot, and I am having... My problem I kept running into was I was making the logical leaps I had. Like, I knew what the answer was, and I kept tripping over myself and, like, going a step ahead in my...
You weren't showing your work.
Yep.
It wasn't even that I wasn't showing my work. It was one of those things where, like, somebody had just, like, described why the person was wrong, and then I had to also describe why that person was wrong. Like, with the exact same words that they used. That came up a couple times.
Hey, don't you know about this thing with this guy? Oh yeah, I know about that thing with this guy. As opposed to, yes, based on that thing, I also know this.
Also, I guess everyone either made it past or didn't make it to the part where I almost completely I did completely check out of the game and had to force myself to continue playing past, which was the second case.
Second case.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
AKA, this game fails at both mental illness and gender identity simultaneously.
Yes.
This game fails at mental illness in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm glad that I did not play anymore then.
The gender identity part, I
didn't
feel
even
like
know what to say about it.
Isn't quite as bad as you go. I don't know. It's
terrible.
It's not
It's
good.
handled terrible.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know exactly what they were trying to say. So
I don't know either.
I can't tell if this game is awful or if the localization team is awful.
There's that too. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I had to go to a fact to figure out what the hell word they were trying. You know, they needed me to spell in case 2, and realized, oh, they want me to spell a slur.
Yeah, they want me to spell a slur.
So I'm blaming on the localization, but other than that, I don't know. But yeah, so basically, there's one character who, not surprisingly at all, although all the characters are like super shocked when it's revealed, is biologically male and presenting as female.
And it's handled so terribly. Like,
it is.
Initially, as I figured it out well ahead of everybody else, all of the other characters in the game, I was like, okay, this person is trans, that's fine. And then you get to the trial and they reveal that that person was biologically male, and then they completely misgender them constantly, and
repeatedly.
it made me want to just
egregiously
throw things. But then it turns out that maybe that person isn't trans, they were just presenting as female because they were bullied as a boy. It was just really terrible. It was absolutely terrible.
And by the end, I felt like maybe the best description for Chihiro was gender fluid, maybe. But they did a very bad job, especially within Chapter 2 with that.
And they continue to misgender them throughout the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And it's
on the bright side, the character was at least presented positively throughout the entire game. Like, Chihiro was never presented in a negative light, to my mind.
Unlike
So at least there's that. Unlike the other one.
Other issues with mental illness.
The character whose split identity is a serial killer, Ray. And even their non-serial killer identity is your boy.
Yeah. Arguably worse. I don't even know.
Like, I think there's exactly 2 characters in this game that, like, I actively, truly dislike by the end. Like, the vast majority of them, I can feel at least some sympathy for them, if nothing else. Or in a couple of cases have actually grown beyond what they were at the start. But Toko is just, the entire time.
Oh,
and,
wow,
and
I hate that guy from the start.
No, Toko is the ultimate novelist. You're thinking of Taka, I think.
Oh, I hate both of them.
The ultimate moral compass.
No, I hate both of them.
Taka,
So, yeah.
I felt a little, I felt a little sympathy for, later on.
Eventually.
Toko's just, like you, especially if you, pick him to talk to, some of the times, like he's an okay guy.
Byakuya is terrible.
Byakuya is pretty
terrible.
But he's grown some by the end.
Yeah.
A little tiny bit.
Negligibly,
Yes.
But a little bit. Toko's just,
So, okay, this is the other thing that was kind of making this game really tough for me to play. This is sort of the game that is, so you're living in a totalitarian, like, this is a game where you are in a completely authoritarian regime and they are trying to see how much you can violate your own moral compass.
Pretty much.
And I don't know, this day and age, this was a pretty rough game for me to play.
Yeah.
Like
ultimately the overall premise of the game is the mastermind of the whole thing is trying to drive the entire world into ultimate despair and prove that despair is, like, greater than hope, and you have to, defeat them through hope. And that's that is sort of the thing. So okay. Yeah, and it was like, okay, this is kind of it was actually kind of interesting to me. Like, the game is oppressively miserable to play. Like, you are watching people do awful things to their friends because they feel like they have no other choice, or because their, like, own base instincts have won out. And you're watching this, like, cast of characters which you have grown to like slowly dwindle as awful things continue to happen. And I was like, there's some interesting places you could go with this at the end of the game. And they went to none of them. Like, I felt like the idea of, I am just the symbol of ultimate despair, and I enjoy watching you make each other miserable. I thought that was incredibly banal for that game. Like, it was super, like, removed. It was very symbolic and removed from the rest of the gritty reality of this game. Right.
Look, I think that the true ending of Hatoful Boyfriend made more sense and had more internal consistency than this game. And that's saying a lot of things.
Saying a lot of things.
Yeah.
Also, once again, like, a dig on the localization team, though. I could no longer take serious the this was the most miserable, most tragic event of all of human history, when they kept using those exact same words over and over to describe it, known as the tragedy. What the heck's the tragedy? You don't need to know. It's just something awful happened. Yeah,
it's a thing. It happened. It's awful.
There were giant bears.
Like, at the end of the game, it's not even, entirely 100% certain that, the mastermind was telling the truth about that. Although I gather in the sequels it's verified that it's all true.
Well, I guess like the thing that would lead me to believe it was true is that Genocide Jack remembered it.
True. That's right.
But yeah, like,
I did think it was interesting that you were talking about the people giving to their base instinct and so on. That like of all the murders in the game that occurred, only one of them, apart from the one performed by the mastermind, was like a planned, cold-blooded, killing. Like all the rest were, in the heat of emotion, or in one case turned out to be a suicide. And then there was one that was for greed and was just planned out, emotionless. And I think that's the character I actually hate the most, is the one that planned that one.
Yeah.
I didn't hate her until after that.
I was
Up until then, I
annoyed.
actually kind of liked her.
I was slightly annoyed by her up until that point, and after that, I was like, "Wow, you're just awful. You wanted a castle and servants, so you engineered the murders of 2 people. Good job."
Yeah. Gosh. What was the? I was not a huge fan of any of these characters. Like, I guess
Sakura. I really, really liked Sakura.
Yeah, I
liked Sakura a lot.
She was like, she and Kyoko were the 2 that I actively really liked. And
I even liked
Sakura is the best.
Sakura is the best. I liked Tina fine. She was fine. She was a little weak as a character sometimes, but I liked her.
She was basically a jock, but she was really just nice and cheery most of the time. And
I thought it was pretty sweet that she tried to kill us all. I thought honestly, I thought that was massive props.
Yes,
yeah, like burn it all to the ground. Don't play by their rules.
Yeah. And as and when they died, I had very little opinion about Chihiro because not much had been done with them at that point. By the end of the game, I really liked them quite a bit. They ended up being very important to the survival of of those few that made it out. I just wish they'd done a better job with, the gender identity thing.
Yep.
That was the first death, right?
Sayaka was the first death.
Oh.
Yes, the ultimate pop star.
So, where this game lost me was I liked none of the characters save one, and then, they made that character evil. Great.
Which one? Leon?
No. What's her name?
Sayaka?
Sayaka. Because I was like, okay. Like, this could go to an interesting place where it's like, this is this thing, but at least you've got a partner, and, no, I'm just too stupid to see through somebody. To see through somebody transparently manipulating me. Oh, okay, I see what kind of game this is. I'm much less excited now.
You actually run into a lot less of people transparently manipulating you.
Yeah, but at that point, I didn't like any of the remaining characters.
Yeah.
Because none of the other characters had given me a reason to like them. You've spent basically all of your time with this one character, and then, haha, tricked you.
Right.
Which was the point at which I was like, haha, I'm done.
Well, I feel like they were going for, the whole despair thing there, but yeah, I can see that. I think by that point, I had already decided that I liked Sakura, so there was at least one character that I was willing to continue with, and Hino was nice. So, and I liked Mondo at that point, which meant that by the end of Chapter 2, I was really goddamn furious.
Yeah.
Like, above and beyond the other stuff.
Boy, Toko and Genocide Jack made the rest of the game insufferable after that came out.
Yes. Like, yay, most annoying character, and they're one of the few that survived to the very end of the game. Awesome.
Yeah.
And apparently show up in sequels. Yay.
Oh, yay. As if I needed any more reason not to spend any more money on anything related to this game. Like, every single case after that one, it's like, okay, please somebody kill her.
Yeah, please. Somebody kill her. I kept hoping Byakuya would try and kill someone.
Yeah,
I was pretty sure he wouldn't.
Yeah, I realized he probably wouldn't. I was really hopeful he would try. Or get killed himself, because he was, he got less annoying at the end of the game, but he was still pretty annoying for most of the game.
He was way too smug, and yeah, I wish I could have killed him.
So, I actually liked him. I actually liked him for a moment when he stood up and was like, "I'm not playing this game anymore." but then he continued to be an annoying asshole.
So, like, what does Byakuya mean? Like, does it mean something specific? Because, like, this is the second property that there's been somebody named Byakuya, and they've been a total dick that I've played. Like, because, like, Byakuya Kuchiki from Bleach is horrible.
Right. I don't know. I mean, most Japanese names do have a, like, specific meaning.
That was the other thing, is, like, they very much were doing this thing where they developed the characters right before they killed them, which meant that, like, the characters that they kept killing were the only ones that you had any reason to be interested in.
Yes.
Like, Leon was also an interesting character. It's like, hey, I'm a baseball star, but actually I don't like baseball anymore. I want to become a musician. I was like, all right, you actually have more of a personality than I would have thought.
Yep, and then it turned out it's because he was the murderer.
Yeah, he had more personality because he was the murderer.
I feel like the game had about 4 more characters than it needed. And as a result, none of them got the time that they needed.
The game also has pacing issues. Like, their UI elements have pacing issues.
Yes. That's true.
So, like, the fact that they couldn't show all the characters in one screen and made you flip through 3 different screens to do introductions, that should say something.
The other thing is, the characters that survive to the end are, like, Hina is likable.
Hina, Yasuhiro, who's, I mean, he's...
What a waste.
He's just a big goof. I mean, he's a big idiot.
Yeah,
I don't hate him.
I don't hate him, but he's just kind of there.
I feel like there's never anything interesting that he says.
Basically, the 2 characters that survive to the end that I actively like are Hina and Kyoko.
I don't actively like Byakuya, but I actually respect when he speaks up.
Yeah. I mean, by the end, I have some respect for Byakuya, and like, he might actually be an interesting character in further stuff in this series, possibly.
I was really hopeful that when they revealed who the mastermind was, that would be an interesting character, and then this, like, dialogue would get better. And no.
Sadly, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, wow, no. That was awful.
Yeah, I don't even know what... I don't know.
Like, whereas Toko is a miserable slog. So, spoiler warning, the mastermind is Junko Inoshima.
Yes.
And
one of the students that you was a member of the class and was the second person killed. Except that wasn't really her. That was her sister pretending to be her because they traded places before this started.
Oh my gosh.
I told you Hatoful Boyfriend made more sense.
Hatoful Boyfriend had more internal consistency than this. And here was the thing that killed me, is it's like, oh, well, you know that Junko, you know the corpse of the, like, Mukuro versus Junko based on this tattoo, only the tattoo was covered, so it was clearly something that you could fake. And my thing, like, throughout the entire final investigation was, oh, that's just Junko's corpse. Mukuro's the mastermind, and she tattooed her hand with Mukuro's tattoo. That would have made more internal consistency than what they went with.
Yes. Yeah, that was my initial feeling on that case. I was like, oh, okay, they just used Junko's corpse, which they did, except that Junko's corpse wasn't actually Junko. Because why not?
Well, and I thought it was Junko's corpse because they kept being like, oh, her vital statistics are exactly a match. And I was, like, flipping through all of my notebooks and realized that Junko's vital statistics are also a perfect match.
Ah, because they're twins.
Well, because they're twins, yes. But I was like, oh, this is really clever what they're doing. No, it was really stupid.
I do have to, since we've given the localization team so much shit up to this point, I do have to give them props for one thing. I liked, and I noticed and liked that Ixaba Mukuro was a member of Fenrir mercenary group, and back towards the beginning of the game, when she died, it was to the spears of Gungnir.
Oh, well.
And that was the point at which I decided that they must have switched places and that was really Mukuro.
Oh, that was the other thing that there's a lot of nitpicks I have about the thing. Why did they feel that they had to hide Junko's face in all of those pictures? Like, Junko and Mukuro disguised as Junko look the same because they're twins.
Well, Mukuro has freckles.
Yeah, Mukuro had
Oh,
freckles.
is that what it was?
Yeah, and that's
Like-
why when they show like the magazine covers with her face on them, she's like,
The
"Oh, they're
Photoshop statement.
photoshopped." Yeah.
Yeah, like it is pointed out that she doesn't look quite like she does on all those magazines that you've seen of her.
I did not catch the reason why. I figured they were just like, oh, there's airbrushing techniques or something. Like, I thought it was a dig at she looks thinner on the magazines.
Oh,
Again,
wow. Okay, so the one other character I liked who died immediately is the bad guy. Great.
Yes.
yes.
Yep.
Cool.
Is the
Well-
really terrible, like, I can't
she's
even...
the ultimate despair, and it's basically because she's bored.
Yes.
I kept really, really, really longing for the teddy bear to be Teddy from, the other game. Persona, yeah.
Persona.
Yeah.
And apparently Byakuya translates to white knight, as in opposite of day, not as in armored person.
Okay. So, yeah.
Or Arctic knight or short knight.
Huh. I don't know why that equates to dick, but whatever.
Yeah, I kept wanting this game. This game was really interesting. Like, this game was very evocative of strong emotions from me. And that's why I kept playing, because I was like, this ending could be an amazing payoff. I was really hoping that there was going to be just a fantastic payoff. Like, either really driving me into despair, or, like, giving me a good explanation for what the F was going on.
And instead, mostly I had the despair of, why did I waste my time playing this game? I mean, it had some moments, I guess, and I played through it to the end because I think, like you, Kodra, like, I wanted there to be a payoff. I wanted it to be, like, it had some good moments, and, like, solving some of the cases was kind of fun while I was actively figuring them out. But man, that last case was just awful. Junko was terrible.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Junko character... So, to explain, the Junko character is, like, 7 different personalities that she's constantly flipping through. And, like, oh, it's just miserable to talk to her. Like, she is explaining away the stupidest possible world that you find yourself in. And, like, there are so many very important questions that just are completely unresolved. What happened that made everything go to hell? We don't know. Why did we lose all of our memories? Wouldn't that be a cool plot device? Ugh.
Yes, and her answer is basically, I'm not going to bother telling you because you wouldn't believe anything I said anyway.
Now I'm
AKA
bored. I don't feel like talking about this anymore.
AKA the writers of this game didn't want to come up with something believable.
I don't have time to explain why I don't have time to explain.
I don't have time to explain why I don't have time to explain. Yeah, that was also a game that I actively cursed out when that line happened. Ugh. Chapter 4 was real good, though.
Yes, Chapter 4 was my favorite. I mean,
Like-
that was the one that actually, like, caused me to have some feels.
Yeah, Chapter 4 was actually sad.
Because I already thought Sakura was the best, and in Chapter 4, she sacrificed herself both to keep us from infighting and to take the opportunity to do a thing that would have gotten her killed anyway. She busted down the headmaster's door.
Yeah, and that was the other thing, is like, that was also a case where I immediately figured it out and was like, because one of those things that this game is good at is it's actually following Occam's razor. Like, the simplest answer is almost always the correct one.
Yeah, until that last case, like that there was that. Like, up until that last one, like, the cases hung together logically.
Yeah.
Like, I never felt like they weren't playing fair, and I always felt like, the clues pointed the way they were supposed to, and it all, like, fit together to give me a solid, answer.
It's just, there's the problem of, Like, you want the game to let you feel clever. And it sort of does it up to a point, right? Like, while you're actively researching the case, you feel a little clever while you figure it out. And then you have the trial, and you figured it out, and you have to pilot an idiot, and it is just
Except maybe the one
unfun.
part you haven't figured out because you don't have that clue yet, because you don't get to have it until the other student that found it presents it during the trial.
Right.
That having been said, I feel like I would really enjoy this. Like, this game made me kind of want to take a look at Phoenix Wright.
Yes.
Yes.
Because I feel like, absent the themes of this game, I actually really enjoy the idea of putting together, of like assembling a case and presenting it and like arguing it. I do want to take a moment while we've blasted the writing / translation. I do want to comment that the art style is really, really interesting. I like a lot of what they did with the visual style in this game.
Yeah. I do think that there's a couple of things that are clumsy, like the 2D sprites in 3D space and like flattening as you move around.
Like, cardboard cutouts that you're talking to is
It's a little odd.
strange.
Yeah. I mean, I don't love the parts of the game that are in 3D.
Yeah.
But I really like... I mean, one of the things that the game is really clearly going for is this kind of super disturbing just theme in general.
Yeah.
Like, it wants to be unnerving, and it accomplishes it super, super well with just the juxtaposition of its bright colors and like kind of party atmosphere with like with the actual content.
Yeah.
And like that's an incredibly carefully done and well executed just like visual thing. And like for me it's really, really, really off-putting, but it's also clearly the point. And it does it without resorting to like being clownish about it for the most part.
Yeah, mostly.
Like, it kind of takes... I believe almost every single one of these characters in, like, a 2D fighter. Like, they've got that, like, hyper-characterized, like, caricature look to all of them. And then it kind of uses that to, I don't know, drive home being disturbing, because it can drive its characterization to its art really, really well. This is also the game where everyone has crazy eyes. Just like every character has crazy eyes.
Some characters have extra bonus crazy eyes. Genocide Jack.
Oh my gosh.
Can we talk about her tongue?
Oh.
I have to assume that it's like meant to be evocative of like monsters in Japanese mythology that have the long tongue, because you see that in the number of like Japanese folklore monsters. But yeah, it was
The whole like sadomasochism stuff as well is just not pleasant to deal with.
Nope.
not at all.
Just her relationship with Byakuya was always uncomfortable, and once that's the other thing is once she revealed her, I guess she was doing it before she revealed that she was Genocide Jack, but
Yeah, because before the murder in chapter 2, she's like interested in Byakuya, and like she has you go to the library with her to keep his attention so that she can like watch him apparently or something. I didn't quite get what was going on there.
And then like get excited when he abuses her.
Yeah.
Yeah. This game is problematic.
Yes.
I do know that there are a lot of people who it is a game that... So I know that, like, at the height of the Gamergate shitstorm, that, like, this was the game that was Brianna Wu says helped her get through all of that, because it sort of gave her something that was a video game reflection of what she was dealing with.
I can see that.
And
that basic premise of like hope winning out against just utter and like world-spanning despair. Like, I feel like there's something really interesting there. I just feel like they kind of dropped the ball in a couple of places.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like they conveyed horrible world-spanning despair. Every
apparently
time...
world-spanning despair is Monokuma's face on the Eiffel Tower and people wearing a mask of his face, like, rioting.
I will be honest, I have been feeling a lot of world-spanning despair in the past couple of weeks. And so this
you
game...
and me both.
This game was a little bit rough to play through. It's like, how would you handle having absolutely no power and being told to do things that you think are vile? Like, even if all you are doing is trying to, like, solve the case, you're still executing somebody. Because even though they killed somebody, you are killing them. Honestly, like, so there's a point in the end of chapter 5 where you are... Basically, you recognize that there is a flaw in Kyoko's argument that would probably cast the blame on her if you exposed it.
Right.
But at that point, she's basically told everyone that she is on the case and has figured out, like, is going to be able to take down the mastermind. Like, and for me as the player, I believed she was the only person who could ultimately defeat the mastermind.
Right.
And even though I knew that it would cast the doubt on me, I was like, the best move I have is to take this punishment. Everyone else dies except her, and then she can take down this guy. Because frankly, all that matters is stopping this monster. That's how I arrived at that decision. Like, the game is like, oh, you cunningly figured it out. But I was like, no, I was just so steeped in despair that I didn't care. I just wanted to see Monokuma suffer.
That one, I took it as trust. Like, we had been working together. I didn't have any reason not to trust her, so I was gonna trust her.
Yeah, like, that's what I felt like that was about, was putting your faith in another person, even in the face of your own death.
Yeah, that's a lot more of an optimistic read than I had at that moment.
And then getting saved by a literal Deus Ex Machina.
Literal Deus Ex Machina.
Weirdly, I find that I often like literal Deus Ex Machina more than regular old Deus Ex Machina.
This is a very likable literal Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, it's usually pretty cool.
Like, I mean, at the end of case 4, when it was revealed that, Sakura's murder was actually a suicide, and Monokuma didn't have anyone to execute, so he decided to bring in a special guest. When he brought out that laptop, I cursed at him. I was very, very angry at him at that point.
Yeah, I was pretty mad.
I did, yeah.
Because I think they did something interesting there too, and they maybe could have expanded on it more than they did. But the idea of an artificial intelligence being willing to sacrifice itself for its friends like that.
I just felt bad because, like, everyone kept dying and no one thought to tell them.
Oh, yeah.
They would be like, it's been kind of quiet for a while, guys. Where is everybody?
I haven't seen Taka or Hifumi or Celeste in a while. Oh, yeah, there's a reason for that.
Oh, well, I kind of figured that would happen.
Yeah.
Oh, bother.
Oh, other things that I thought were incredibly stupid. The gift part of this game, the present part, needed to have a way to very quickly push a whole bunch of coins in and get, like, a bunch of items out.
Yeah, because I figured out the right way to do it is don't worry about whether it's a repeat or not, and just do 1 coin for 1 item. But holy crap, it takes a long time.
Yup, I was glad to put that part of the game behind me.
That was the longest part of filling in all the report cards.
What I never figured, do you need to give presents to people to, like, progress their stories?
I don't think you have to. I think it just makes it happen faster.
Oh, okay.
Like, based on how much they like the present, you progress further along, like, however many points or whatever you need to get to the next stage of learning more about them. Which, I mean, and the report card stuff, like, you do get some interesting information about a lot of the characters from that. Like, even some of the ones that aren't as, like not enough to make me actually like her, but, like, even Toko/Genocide Jack's report card, like, there was some interesting information in that. Like, that was the one place where there was a little bit of actual character development for that character.
I think it's sort of unfortunate that it's basically impossible to get the report card filled in for, except maybe like you might be able to get it filled for one character if you just like focus, and it happens to be a character that doesn't die super early, I guess.
Yeah.
I was about to say, I got 2.
I think you could maybe possibly get 3 in a single playthrough of the normal game.
I got Sayaka.
Right, because you only need 2 for her.
Yeah. Man, that was another weird mannerism, and that was a great moment actually. When like you jump to a conclusion ahead of Kyoko, and she's like, how did you know that? And you're like, I'm psychic.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I'm just really perceptive. Like that was a strong moment. Also, that's a weird mannerism that I kept seeing. Hina's just really into donuts. Like that's her whole personality.
Donuts and sports. That's what she
mostly does. Donuts.
The sports are just to enable the donuts.
It's true.
Pretty much. Yep.
I mean, she never takes you to eat donuts when you spend time with her.
That's because you eating donuts would reduce the number of donuts that she would be eating.
That's true. She also likes other candy, though.
She does.
I did also really like the music for this game.
Yeah, the music's pretty good. I actually think my favorite is the Act 5 and 6 investigation theme.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I just kept thinking, like, I got to Act 5, and you get to the end of that, like, towards the end of that chapter, and it's, like, really hoping that there would be a payoff there. Like, okay, now I can go, like, behind the scenes, I can, like, figure this stuff out, and, like, actually learn the secrets. And, I mean, I guess you sort of do, but it wasn't actually, like, decent payoff.
It wasn't terribly satisfying.
Right.
No.
It's
like,
still...
and I really like the idea that, like, you know, that basically the mastermind had at that point been manipulated into a situation where, you know, they were backed into a corner. Yeah, they had cheated, and we could take advantage of this to defeat them. Like, that was a really cool idea. And yeah, I don't know.
I also kind of wish instead it was just you sneaking around and figuring things out.
Yes.
For the last chapter.
It would have been great. Or at least it would have been better.
Figure out. I mean, my first thought was, okay, there's cameras literally everywhere. How's this going to work? But I did not expect the answer to be, we're going to go confront Monokuma immediately, and yeah.
So the game also does some things where it's like, haha, you idiot, and here's the one I'm specifically thinking of is you are in the Monokuma room with Hina, and it's like, oh, there's a hatch on the floor. I'm gonna take a look and see what's in this hatch. It's like Hina's like, no, we can't look. We don't have time. We need to get out of here. This is giving the creeps. It's like, I really want to look at that hatch, and it's like, no, we have to get out of here. This is really getting the creeps.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you walk out, like Monokuma locks the doors and is like, haha. I bet you didn't look in that hatch, did you? That's actually where the mastermind was hiding. Fooled you.
Well, yeah.
That may have been a moment where I put the game down for a little while.
It's like, I tried to look at that hatch. The game wouldn't let me.
And the worst part is, like, when that happens, you know as soon as you walk out the door that the game is going to go, why didn't you look in the hatch, you idiot? Right? Like, I mean,
I mean, and the thing is that, like, the game tells you, like, Monokuma then tells you that, you know, it wouldn't matter. The hatch only opens from the other side anyway. It's like, well, the game could have just let me actually try to open the hatch and it wouldn't open. And that would have been less irritating than literally not letting me look at the hatch.
Yes. But you see, you aren't the ultimate detective. So you clearly have to be
Yes.
Also, I figured out that she was the ultimate detective in, like, chapter 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as she started, like, looking for clues and pointing, I was like, oh, okay, you're the ultimate detective, aren't you? That's what you are.
I'm still not entirely sure why she forgot she was the ultimate detective.
Like, I guess the implication I got was that was deliberate on Junko's part when wiping the memories, that she, like, extra wiped Kyoko's because like her remembering that would be, I don't know.
I don't know, because
Not how this works. Not how any of this works.
We didn't get any of the memory wiping stuff explained to us either. Or, like, I guess the explanation of how the headmaster died is Junko shot him?
No. The very first movie, before the game starts, of the rocket punishment, that's the headmaster.
Oh.
The crack on the skull matches. I realized that after, way after the fact. But yeah.
Oh.
That's what that very first punishment that Monokuma is enacting is. That's the headmaster being murdered. Yeah, because I kept wondering, okay, I wondered what was that about, and then I kind of forgot about it, and then no, I know what it was. It was when Junko executes herself and goes through every single punishment, including the rocket one that hadn't been used on any of the students, and that reminded me of it, and I remembered the crack in the skull, and that came together.
You never actually bring that up in a case, though.
No, it doesn't
come
have
up.
anything to do with anything. No.
Then, other than sadness for Kyoko.
Man, I could have done without watching 2 straight minutes of someone tortured to death.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah,
they don't really get any less brutal.
That was why. That was the point at which I was like, I think I'm done with this.
I actually think that the most brutal one was Leon's. Well, no, I take that back. The ultimate. I don't know if it's brutal or just messed up because she looks like she's on a carnival ride and loving it. But watching a guy get bludgeoned to death by 1,000 baseballs from a baseball machine is really uncomfortable. Rough. I'm like, oh, that's... And, he's also the one who's, dragged by the neck. Oh.
Yeah.
Mondo at least seems...
Because the others accept their fates.
Yeah. Mondo is pretty stoic about it.
Oh, because Mondo is incredibly guilty about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I did actually, I liked Mondo up until I realized he was the murderer, and then I was really pissed at him, and then by the end, I felt a little bad for him.
Celeste seemed like she was going out on top of the world. She was being burned like Marie Antoinette.
Yeah.
She
wanted to be European nobility, so here you go. Yeah. And then Alter Ego just made me sad.
Alter Ego just made me sad, but it wasn't terribly...
Right.
It's hard to be brutal to
with a laptop
computer. Yeah. It was just sad.
The one that definitely made me feel the most uncomfortable was Leon's execution. And that was when I put that game down for a while.
Yeah, I don't even like that, this game is making us have this conversation about these, brutal punishment murders. It's pretty gross.
And it's it's actually murder porn for Monokuma and Junko.
Yeah, I mean, I meant to bring this up earlier. I was thinking about it way back when I had first, I think right about when I finished playing through Chapter 1, that, I feel like this game is doing a lot of the same, is coming from the same place that, the Saw movies apparently do. I have not seen any of the Saw movies, but, the way I understand, it's a similar, concept in some ways. So I don't know.
There's also some, uncomfortable themes that I feel like they didn't necessarily have. I feel like we're not intentional. The fact that as the number of characters dwindled, the civilization the society that you are forming inside of there actually stabilized. Maybe genocide leads to a stable society is a message this game has in it. Ugh. Maybe you just need your bad actors to kill each other off. Ugh.
Possibly.
This is also a game where I criticize this game very heavily, and I would probably be criticizing it a lot more if it wasn't coming from a culture that I'm not terribly familiar with. Because I honestly don't know what the I don't know how much of this is not translating into American cultural sensibilities very well.
Yeah.
And how much of it is this is just awful.
Yeah. I did specifically ask my wife about, to her knowledge, since she lived in Japan for a year, like about like how well gender identity and mental illness are treated in Japan, and she and she was of the opinion that mental illness in particular is kind of brushed under the rug and ignored and not handled very well there. But I don't know, it's not handled very well here either. So
yeah, this is definitely portraying mental illness as nothing but a problem.
Yeah.
Like, if you have mental illness, you're an unstable sociopath.
Apparently.
Ugh.
Like, I feel like the whole gender identity thing with Chihiro, I think that is, to some degree, a cultural thing. Like,
that one felt like there's some cultural thing that I am missing here that would make this slightly less completely and totally offensive to me.
Yeah,
but
I've definitely seen other manga and anime that have like a biologically male character dressing in girls' clothing, like typically like a girl's school uniform. So it's definitely a trope, like Japanese stuff.
But it was still, like, whatever it was, it felt
Yeah.
bad, and it was handled very badly.
Yes, it was.
I also feel like this game is a little bit long for what it is.
It was really long. Like,
Yeah.
It was surprisingly long.
Yeah, like, I'm not a huge fan of the English VO. Again, I don't know if...
I used the Japanese voices.
Oh, did you?
I would recommend anybody who plays it use the Japanese voices. Yeah, I actually started with it set to English and very quickly realized that so I decided to go back and switch to Japanese and just hope that like the text would still be in English, and it was. So yeah.
Yeah, this game reminded me how annoyed I get when there's voiceover, but the voiceover doesn't match the text that I'm reading, especially when it's more than like a couple of syllables. Like, I don't mind it so much when you like talk to a guard in an MMO and they're like, hello, but then their text says something different. But like, some of these characters have like catchphrases that they say over and over and over again.
Yes.
That are never reflected in their text. And that just drives me totally nuts.
Yeah, like mostly there's only full voiceover during the trials and like at dramatic moments typically.
Yeah.
Everywhere else there's just like a little, they say something, like some just exclamation when you talk to them.
Yeah, I think that also helped make me crazy, because every so often it would be the same. Every so often, like 1 in 100 lines or so, the VO would match the text. And so it trained me to listen to the VO, and so I listened to the same line over and over and over again, and then would get thrown off when it actually matched up.
I also feel like this game made you go over the same stuff over and over. I felt myself like actively just mashing through new dialogue, because it's like, oh, this is just recap of dialogue we've already had. Like, I don't need to talk any more about this subject anymore. I know exactly what's going on. I have eyes. I can see what's up.
Not to mention, like, during the trial, when you're trying to hit a line of text and you fail, and then you're just watching that segment over and over and over again until you get it right.
Yeah.
I found out that there's a way to speed up those segments at the end of the game, and I was like, I needed this 20 hours ago.
I found it out very quickly because, oh god, I can't imagine playing through that game without it. That's awful.
It was not pleasant.
B button speeds up everything. Yes.
But even with it, it was still...
Yeah.
It speeds it up some, but it doesn't let you completely skip it or anything.
Yeah. And you still have to pay enough attention to, stop speeding it up before you get to the thing that you need to hit.
Right.
So that, because presumably it was difficult to hit. That's why you missed the first time around. So, yeah.
I needed to play this, I played this on the hardest logical difficulty and normal action difficulty. I should have bumped it down action difficulty-wise. I've
reached the point where if I'm playing a game that I think is more story than gameplay, I just play it on easy.
I thought the logical... I don't think did a good job of making the logic more difficult. The only time the logic was hard for was when I was hunting for the right absorb bullet combination, and I thought those were stupid, incredibly so. I thought this game did not need that mechanic.
But it was so at the end you could give everyone hope.
Oh. They could have just given me a bullet for I'm the ultimate hope, which they actually already had given me at that point.
But that bullet was to shoot at Junko.
What are the skills supposed to be for?
They help you at certain phases in the trials.
Yeah, they basically give you various different abilities, like the ability to target multiple statements during the tempo game, so that you can target multiple things and then just shoot once, or...
Being able to reload multiple bullets in the tempo game was handy.
Very useful. Like steadier aim, a bunch of things like that.
So nothing actually to do with whatever the skill was called?
Not really.
Not really.
I mean, it gave pretty good descriptions of each skill when you're actually setting them prior to a trial. So, but yeah, the name of the skill doesn't, like, vaguely relates to what it actually does. It relates more to the character that you got the skill from.
This game makes me actually want to try some dating sims, though.
Yeah, it had the exact opposite for me. Like, I really liked Bird Boyfriend, but then I think I've realized that I don't really like visual novels. Like, if this is representative at all of visual novels, and no, I don't want to play any visual novels.
I don't
think it is.
The visual novels that we've played for the show have been what I would call representative of visual novels.
Yeah.
I was kind of wishing at some point some of the characters might be like romance options, but nope, that's not a thing that happens in this game. Which, I mean, I guess that makes sense. Everything is about being miserable.
Yeah.
I got tired of being miserable in this game.
Like, I think from what I understand, if we want to actually play something that is actually representative of visual novels, we should probably play Clannad.
I have wanted to play Clannad for quite some time. It's on the long list. Because that is like the quintessential one, is my understanding as well. Speaking of visual novels, my Steam recommendations is still a complete disaster.
This game didn't help.
I don't think this game even really affected it. I still have Steam just flood me with visual novels.
Well, I get those too, just from playing the one.
Yeah, imagine that multiplied like 100,000 times. Like the Steam like recommendation queues, your discovery queue.
Mm-hmm.
I have only last month stopped having, because it's 10 games they recommend. Last month was the first time I've run through a queue and not had 9 visual novels and one other thing.
Well, it doesn't help that like visual novels have just flooded onto Steam as well.
Yeah, that probably also doesn't help. My Steam recommendations list must be like, oh man, this guy is super excited. Let's tell him about all of them.
Yeah, like Japanese designers within the past couple of years realized that, we can put this stuff on the PC on Steam and people will buy it. Let's do that thing.
Well, I also think it's like, do you know what's really easy to develop for these days? The PC. There's lots of tools that you can use to do this stuff. Well, it seems like we've wound down a bit. Any parting thoughts?
I'm not sure I would recommend it. Also, if you haven't played this game at this point, you've just been really spoiled.
Spoiled all to hell, yeah.
Yeah, I would not recommend this game. Like, I don't even know if I could say that I'm glad that I played through it. Like, it had some interesting stuff, but it did not have a payoff. It had a lot of needs, just a trigger warning for just awfulness.
Yeah, like there is a tiny part of me that wonders if there might be a payoff in the second one. I need to tamp that part of me down.
Yeah.
No, bad.
So, I mean, spoilers, big shocker there, but like, I can tell you there's not. Because I wanted to at least know, I reached the point with this where I didn't want to play it anymore, but if there were a payoff, I'd be willing to play it enough to see the payoff. And so I looked up, I basically like intentionally spoiled it all for myself and was like, wow, there's no payoff. What about the sequels? Is there a payoff? Then nope. Mm-mm.
Is it just everyone is always living in this awful universe?
I mean, I think the next one takes place on a tropical island, but it's like a tropical island in a world where like the most tragic thingy whatever happened.
The most awful, terrible, tragic event in human history.
Like, I looked enough at the stuff about the sequel I gather that there is sort of a resistance that, like, it's mentioned in this first game that, like, they've been trying to get into the school to rescue us this entire time. And I gather the survivors hook up with them, and that group is, like, an element of the second game. I don't know. Also, there's a rabbit equivalent of Monokuma that I guess is like an incarnation of hope.
Huh.
Hardhip died immediately. Like, just in case you were wondering about that one.
Unsurprising. I will say that this game makes me want to play a game with some catharsis.
So, I believe I am next in order to pick, based on our new master spreadsheet.
That sounds right.
Yeah, so we were going to have a show about Final Fantasy 15, a tell-all show, so I figured we might as well do that as a game of the month. And it will also give us the drive to, push over and beat the game, those of us that haven't. So yeah, we'll be playing Final Fantasy 15 for the February game of the month. And being a short month, it also helps that all of us have, for the most part, started, so...
Yup.
And I see Tam is editing the spreadsheet as I'm saying that. I think it's Tam, at least. It's an anonymous Kraken.
Which ought to be me, but is not.
Anyway, well, that was the January show. As always, I would be curious to find out what thoughts our listeners had.
If this is like one of your favorite games, I'd actually really love to hear from you and why. Like, what is it that we missed?
Yeah,
because I feel like this was something that, like, I know some people really like. People whose opinions I generally respect have said that they really like it, and I completely missed it. I'd be really curious, like, what do other people see in this that we missed?
Yeah,
I mean, I also wonder if it's other people like this. Kind of felt like a horror game to me, and I know that I'm not the biggest fan of horror games. So
yeah, but I mean, I like horror games just fine, but I was largely not into this from the start, even before I started getting sick to my stomach playing it. But it would definitely be nice to hear what is it that people really liked. Anyway, I think that's the show. Next week we'll do the normal thing and probably talk a lot about PAX South and, probably the because at this point there will have been 3 shows where we didn't do a normal show, so I'm sure we have lots to talk about.
Yeah, like, what are we all playing lately?
Yep. Anyway, have a good night. Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
good night.